So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of certification, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I want to ask Ms. Shepherd if she'll pause briefly. Dr. Newbo, you had some discussion. I know you had some things we wanted to talk about. I saw Mr. Spoonhauer's head shaking. Some of the things we talked about at the beginning of the year, where shutdown, where our funding is connected to some of those things. So I'll just open the floor. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Yeah, and this may be necessary to be the subject of a subsequent meeting, but just to be prepared is what and to not have to take action, but to anticipate based on what we see happening at the state and at the federal level, the implication and the potential impact for PlanRVA in terms of our organization, grants that may not cut staff and that will be impacted, those kinds of things, and just to anticipate what some of those playing out the worst case scenario and really hopeful it never happened to use it. That's it. And not in this session, but I know Martha is being thoughtful about that and has been thinking about potential with some of the grants and those kinds of things. But if at some point we could have a stronger sense of, a plan of action looking prospectively, just in light of everything that's going on.
Strategic financial outlook.
That one.
Yep. Let's get that on the books. We'll start working on that. That's a very good one. And that's going to be appropriate for kind of for the long term too. Things move, economies are moving in Hanover. We're preparing for kind of 3% budgets, revenues, and so yeah, it's all okay. Thank you, ma'am. We'll absolutely make that happen. Ms. Shepherd. Oh, sorry, Dr. Newbrook.
May I just
Oh, yes, ma'am.
We have been in very regular communication and are monitoring the circumstances very closely. I think we are prepared to put kind of a report of the actions taken and the actions that we can be prepared to take should we need for a future meeting.
Yep.
And all of this is helping to inform what Lauren's going to report about where we're looking to the future beyond the here and now, whether that's implementation of our new financial management system, and we're seeing the anticipated fruits of that labor because it will help us navigate circumstances like this should it happen in the future. And thinking about next fiscal year, we are already making a list of approaches to next year's budget that can help insulate us from circumstances like this going forward better. And so I just say that because it's not for me and for Lauren and for Elizabeth, let's just get through this experience,
And
but it is very much how do we change our view as we go into future fiscal planning.
Yeah, and I think if you've got a report, you can prepare, and then we'll have folks from this committee, maybe we can meet one-on-one, look over that report, kind of have some discussions, and then have the leadership of the organization give their input. That might be a start plan. Okay, thank you.
Can I just?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
As you're looking at it, this came to mind. And maybe because we were talking about the community foundation that serves as back office to many things. With the new system, is there an opportunity to be back office to it that could generate income for us? Don't know, just throwing mud on the wall.
There's certainly potential for us to have more capacity to do other things. What that looks like, we could talk more about that.
Okay. So just the revenue generating side of it.
It's a good question.
Thank you. And thank you, Martha.
Sure. We've got a good team.
Yeah, I think the thing we talked about, and I don't know where we wound up, but as we were going through this, for each grant that we apply for, what is our exit strategy? If the grant is cut, do we have, okay, we'll go into reserve funds, or that staff that role gets eliminated. So if something were to happen, what is our contingency? And if you look at where and diversifying, which I don't think is a problem for this organization. Sometimes I think we're a little too diverse, based on some of the management stuff I'm reading now, but just kind of understanding, where our potential risks and what is just typical risk management, really.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll start working on that now. Reporting. I got
She
you.
had a retort.
Well, I think.
No, y'all
No,
gotta quit doing that, cause I said, we're in an open format.
She's
So I'm not, guy, yeah, so speak, please, ma'am. Yes, we wanna hear what you have to say.
We were intentional about how we ordered the agenda items for today because they're all so related to each other. And so Dr. Newbill, to your, point about sort of the sequencing of when to start thinking about how to diversify revenue. I want to talk about it in the context of the financial management system. So I'm going to jump around a little bit, but
But I do want to acknowledge what Mr. Spoonhouse said. I mean, there are things when we accept these grants and then we look at them. Normally we're used to looking kind of at the four corners of the document and kind of know what it is because there's been some consistency, but now we probably need to really scrub through those. What happens mid-grant when something, or like, and that's for all of us to collectively work on in the leadership of this committee and the entire commission to say, what's going to be our strategy? How do we move forward? You brought up very similar words. At one time we couldn't find our grant on the website. It's like, what happened there? And then, those are the types of things we have to have some contingency because you start putting in grant funded positions or we start doing grant funded work. It's like, what would we do if this was to happen? If it didn't happen, so I know you're going to probably cover some of that, but I just wanted to make sure that I got on record what I heard consistently from both of the committee members and which I wholeheartedly agree with.
sure, and being able to identify what of our grants have federal sources beyond what our direct partners look like. And so when we think about this new financial management system, I think everyone here knows, the majority, the 80% of our funding is through federal grants. And so.
So Lauren, before you go, just
Yeah.
I'd like to just get this out into the ether. I've been going to a lot of different organizational meetings. And I think one of the questions I would challenge us to ask ourselves before we even apply for a grant was, if a grant wasn't available, would we look for other funding to do this? Because I'm seeing organizations take stuff on only because there's money available. And I just don't think that's the right reason for an organization to do something. And I think you're starting to see some of them struggling now because either grant money's drying up or there's so much overlap that you get 8 different organizations working on the same problem. So I think we should be looking at, okay, if the money wasn't there, would we still be trying to do this?
Yeah, and I think we would lean back on our vision and mission, which is
Exactly.
outlined in that MD&A section, right? And so being able to code opportunities and dollars directly back to those.
Yep.
Those 5 bullets of our vision and mission, we will be able to do that in the new system. And so we can really get a handle on and wrap our arms around the grants that we're receiving, the work that we're doing. How does it relate back to this, 5-year plan that the board is all in on? And so
Yep.
just a couple points about that financial management system. So we can code and map every grant dollar back to its source funder. And so right now we might have partners that are not federal, but that their funding is federal, and being able to report on and understand, even if our relationship is and contract is with a non-federal partner, knowing that funding may be impacted by the federal shutdown or by changes at the administration level.
Are you able to split that coding?
Split it.
So like if you had one thing, so 50% goes to number 1,
Yes.
3.
Yes, we
By percent.
we have a grant right now where our partner is not a federal agency, but there are 2 separate federal funding streams that are funding that project. We will be able to, our timekeepers who are working under that grant will have one time code to enter, and in the black box of the system, all the calculations to assign that time and labor and expense will be able to track it at multiple levels. The complexities of our revenue streams are far beyond what I would have imagined for a $5 million operating budget. And we are managing it right now with spreadsheets and QuickBooks, and it's very complex. It's very time consuming to run efficient reporting, and the new system will allow us to do that.
Can I ask you maybe a question? I mean, sort of hearing what you said and some of the questions, my understanding is that this system is gonna enable us to tag dollars to purpose and risk.
Yes.
So we'll be able to really be able to generate much richer reports automatically based on how we've inputted the information about grant opportunities, evaluate whether it's a good fit, and evaluate what the risk of if we get it and if we don't, or if it's terminated. And so that I think is really exciting.
Yeah.
From what I've been learning about how this is going to aid us in what I think I'm hearing you say, front end decision making, management decision making, and then kind of scenario, what if.
It just doesn't make sense. Should.
Right, right.
I'll mention that the limitations of our current systems mean we are requesting reimbursements quarterly when some of our funders would allow us to do that monthly. But because of the limitations of our current system, that is challenging. So what does this mean? So for example, the first payroll of the quarter, of the first quarter of this fiscal year, let's say July payroll, we won't actually see the reimbursement for that until late November, early December. So we are having to float a quarter's worth of cash. So that first quarter, that July, August, September expense out the door where we're paying our staff, we're paying for their benefits. Takes us about a month to close that period and prepare the complex invoice for that work. Takes the funder about 30 to 45 days to pay it. So we are having to float that kind of cash. If we were able to run that process more quickly, which we should be able to do in the new system, we can start invoicing more frequently and turning that cash around more quickly so that there's less pressure on what we will have to float. So when we talk about sort of the sequencing of being able to understand and pivot, like we are taking those steps now, we're investing a lot of time and resources in this process, and it hits a lot of the things we want to be able to do.
We're just in a very different place now. There's a lot of things. So we have externals and then we have internal. So I know there's a lot of resources. I have a couple things going through my head, but I think they're probably for a later time. We just need to have more, an appreciation for, we're burning through a lot of energy, I know, in our finance division right now with a lot of changes. And we are, and I know there's stressors there.
I know we only have a few minutes. I want to be respectful of this committee's time, but I just need to shout out the team. We have an incredible dream team of.
I appreciate that. I've worked hard. Y'all are like, why is everybody so edgy? Seems like, it's like heavy in here. This is good stuff. Things are much better. We have the audit. So anyway, all right, I'll stop trying to bring some levity.
Do not stop by and get any more burgers at 10.
Maybe that took me off, Doctor. We have two new folks who've never been in here. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to lighten the mood.
Yeah.
It is good. I mean, it
is
really
good. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There's a lot
We're in a
happening right now,
Much
but
better place.
Yeah.
I will say, having had many hours of conversations with each of you, all being past chairs of this board, we're in the best possible situation we could have ever been in for what we're going through right now.
I think that's a great way to put it. That's kind of what I was
Right?
trying to get at. Didn't come across.
It's like, we're not through the woods, but we have like flashlights, and that is really, really helpful.
Are you an outdoorsy person? Is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. In the woods.
Yeah.
Neil and I spent some time
Well,
outdoors in the
If
woods.
you hear correctly.
The desert.
Yeah.
The Q1 financials, I think, are good news. There's a
Can we go
delay.
back to the system, real quick,
Yeah.
just because so I heard complexity of revenue streams, I heard complex invoices, I heard reimbursements quarterly versus monthly, so a lot of complexity. Every year, it seems like we have the same circular conversation about managing project time and then time off. Is this gonna help us with that? Because we have that conversation every year of we struggle to figure out the PTO and, you know, how people take their vacation, and we seem to fall short of that. So is that gonna help with this?
Can you say a little bit more just to give me context? Do you mean the budgeting of when, say in December, a lot of people take time off, so we
Right.
don't have funds coming in?
Right, it's some similar to that. It just seems like we have a lot of revenue conversations around, well, we struggle with the amount of time people are able to take and how to balance that. And so last year, I think, we were talking about this, I said, well, hopefully the new system will help with that.
I think the new system's gonna do a couple things for us. It is an all-inclusive system, so timekeeping is inclusive in that instead of having to bridge it between separate systems, so that's a plus in and of itself. But it's also gonna allow us to cost projects more appropriately, so we'll actually be able to use this data to say, when we put in a proposal for a purposeful project that's mission aligned, we can, with more certainty, submit for the right request amount. Submit on the front end, the budget that's gonna reflect the level of effort that it's gonna take to do the work.
Right.
And we'll be able to enter the periods of performance for these different projects, so we can see, like, I'm envisioning like a Gantt chart where we can actually see the stacking of the projects, that we can know where do we have periods over the course of a year where we've got gaps in stack time, where that needs to be filled, or how do we plan projects that we're accounting for? And so my answer to you would be yes, we're gonna have a lot more sophistication in being able to have.
But I also hope that data informs our policies.
Yes.
So guess what? Not everybody gets to take the week of Christmas off. Like, it's just that we're an organization that just can't happen. Like, or can it?
Yeah, I mean,
and then-
I think we're gonna have line of sight to plan ahead as opposed to on the back end saying, oh,
Perfect.
this happened and that's probably why.
Perfect. And then, you know, I hope that this gives us, also helps to provide us the data that so why is there, so not just to solve a problem, to solve the symptom of the problem instead of the problem. Why are our invoices so complex? Like, will this give us the data to help improve our processes so that we're doing good process engineering along the way?
Yes, I mean, the braiding of funding, I mean, just on the TPO invoices, so you've got, you know, those two funders, so you've got VDOT and DRPT, but then you have that local match as well. Within the DRPT and VDOT, there are allocations within the different tasks that each of those pay into. We are doing all of that in Excel right now. And
Did you say Excel?
Excel, I'm sorry.
I'll
In
just
Excel.
make sure I was hearing correctly.
Yes, we are doing that in Excel. QuickBooks does not have the functionality for that. And so a lot of, I've been using sort of the house analogy. It's like we're moving from one house into a new house. We're building the new house right now. We're putting the framing in, we're running the utilities, you know, and oh, by the way, we want to have 2 bathrooms on the 2nd floor. So we're going to have to run plumbing, electrical, all of that up there. So we're building that infrastructure to lean on the system to run those complex braided calculations of funding. We haven't started moving all of our stuff in yet. We got to purge, we got to clean, you know, we don't want to bring our dirty dishes into the new house. So we've still got, that's sort of what the next six to 8 weeks are all about.
Good.
Yeah, we're very excited. We're starting our testing this week. So we are entering real May time card data for the TPO specifically. And we're gonna test it and try to break it and see if the system is able to do all those calculations that we are currently doing manually in Excel that take a couple weeks to actually hammer out and get that invoice around to see if the system will really do it and make those tweaks before we go live Jan 1.
Thank you. What else you got for?
I mean, I have a lot of notes, but I feel like we're kind of wrapping up, so.
Well, the only reason, I
Right.
have no problem with the notes. The only reason, I have a
Yeah.
finance committee that they jammed in on me because it's year end.
Yeah.
And so I have to make that, but I don't want to discount your notes.
I
But
want,
you've got a final comment.
I
about
got
how
one
good your
final
staff is.
comment, just, there was one piece that came out of the audit that I really just want to make sure this group understands, and it's how CBTA is handled in our PlanRVA financial audit. In previous years, CBTA was called a fiduciary fund to PlanRVA. We had a set of financials for CBTA in the 5th PlanRVA audit. We determined, and I got to give a shout out to Elizabeth here, that CBTA is not actually a fiduciary fund for
Correct.
us. And so we don't have control over their assets, right? We don't even hold their operating funds, right? We submit for reimbursement right now. So we have made that change going forward, effective fiscal year 25. So that is one of the changes that came out.
That's huge, and we've had discussions about that before, and that needed to be changed. That's
Yeah.
correct,
That said,
comma.
the two PlanRVA employees that exclusively support CBTA, so Mr. Parsons and Ms. Namwaya, they are actually PlanRVA employees. So they're processed with PlanRVA payroll, they enjoy the benefits that PlanRVA sponsors. They work exclusively on CBTA work, they report up to the CBTA board, there's no line of management, to Ms. Schickel. So they are added to the PlanRVA operating budget, so you will see a wash of additional revenue and expense for those CBTA exclusive employees.
And that's what it should be. What's on one side, what's on the other, we got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is a change to the budget, and I just didn't want anyone to have that question after we left here.
No, well, thank you for that, and it's needed to be changed and very identifiable, and we've kind of worked on that. Again, it's been here 5 years. It sounds like a long time, but it's not when you have a $1 billion organization and you're working through different things, getting executive directors, merging your finances, all of those things. So I'm really glad what you're doing is great. I think we need to continue to do that and obviously make the new FY. That's got to have it's got to be highlighted. And I think both boards, the authority will appreciate it and recognize it.
Yeah.
And I know the PDC will.
Before this committee breaks, and I apologize, just procedurally, does the committee want to have a recommendation to the full board for next week?
I'm getting ready to handle that in 10 seconds. No, that's good. No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm getting ready to do that. That's a great reminder. I just want to see if there were any closing comments. And with that, if they're not, is there a motion to move this to the full board with a recommendation to accept the audit findings? So moved by Dr. Newbill, seconded by Mr. Spoonhour. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We just asked staff, and thank you for this short time. Heck, everybody's running financials towards the end of the year. If this would be placed in there with the annotation that it was voted on. Yeah, the finance committee accepted it and is favorably recommending it to the full board for their review and acceptance of the findings of the audit. And congratulations, it was a great audit. We got really good feedback. So we'll trade more time. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure that we also, it was enough when I thought we were working with QuickBooks and moving to something else, to know we were working with Excel spreadsheets and QuickBooks. And just to recognize and appreciate.
At least it's not Lotus.
There's two more systems in there if you want to add to that list.
No, so
She doesn't want to know.
That's, but just to recognize staff and the leadership.
Yeah.
And even when I talk about a budget prospectively, I'm on the phone with Martha, she's already down the road and working with staff, so.
Yeah.
Just really want to recognize our staff for being
job.
in front of this.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
Thank you all. That's good.
We've got a great team.
We do. I wish we had more time.
Yeah.
I really do. But that said, thank you all. It is 10